Hello and welcome back to NIOS Decoded. Today, we're covering English 302, Chapter 7, After 20 Years. Whether you're studying for your NIOS board exam or just getting started, you're in the right place. Let's decode this together.
And if you haven't already, join our free Telegram community at t.me/NIOS Decoded for free notes and doubt help. Okay, let's go.
So, for today's explainer, our agenda covers a quick chapter overview, the story breakdown, character sketches, grammar and literary devices, the exam corner, and finally a quick recap. Let's dive right in. Section 2. The story breakdown. Okay, picture this. It is a really cold, drizzling night in a nearly deserted New York City. In this quiet, kind of gloomy setting, a lone policeman is just walking his beat, making his rounds. Now let's rewind. Exactly 20 years ago, two best friends, Bob and Jimmy, had dinner at a place called Big Joe Brady's restaurant. And that night, they made a really firm promise to meet at that exact same spot 20 years later, no matter what. All right, cut back to tonight at 10 p.m. Bob is standing in a dark doorway, just waiting. He actually chats with the passing policeman and tells him all about this childhood promise. Then, 20 minutes pass. At 10:20 p.m., a tall man in a heavy overcoat walks up, claiming to be his old buddy Jimmy. They walk off arm in arm, but here comes the twist. The whole thing unravels when they step under the bright streetlights and Bob is suddenly handed a note. Wait a second, ma'am. I have a major doubt here. If Jimmy was actually that first policeman who spoke to Bob at 10 p.m., and he realized right then that his best friend was a wanted criminal from Chicago, why didn't he just arrest him right there himself?
Oh, that is a fantastic question. And honestly, it is the absolute core emotional dilemma of the entire story. See, Jimmy was completely torn between his FARS, his duty as a police officer, and his dosti, his deep childhood friendship. When Jimmy saw Bob strike a match to light his cigar, the light flashed and he instantly recognized the face of a man wanted in Chicago. But he simply didn't have the heart to arrest his oldest friend personally. He just couldn't do it. So he walked away, went around the corner, and sent a plainclothes officer to do the job instead.
Moving on to Section 3. Character sketches. Character analysis is absolutely critical for those long answer board exam questions, so definitely take notes here. The main thing you need to grasp is the stark contrast between these two men. On one hand, we have Silky Bob. He left New York to go west and make a fortune. And well, he did. He's wealthy, polished, wearing this flashy diamond scarf pin, but he got all that by becoming a criminal. He's pretty egotistical and firmly living on the wrong side of the law. Now, on the flip side, we have Jimmy Wells. Jimmy never left New York. He is a steadfast, loyal guy. Bob actually calls him a plotter, basically someone who works slowly but steadily. And he grew up to be an honest, deeply dedicated New York policeman. He represents law, order, and consistency.
Wow, it really just goes to show how much two life paths can totally diverge, right? Like that tall man said in the story, 20 years is a really long time. It can completely change a good man into a bad one.
Section 4. Grammar and literary devices. So, this explainer isn't just about a great story. It also covers some essential technical language skills for your syllabus. First step, let's talk about a literary device called foreshadowing. This is O. Henry's signature tool. Basically, foreshadowing is when an author drops little indications or hints about what is going to happen later in the story. It's super useful for creating suspense, a bit of curiosity, or just giving you that feeling that things might not be exactly as they seem. The author treats the whole story like a mini mystery, leaving tiny breadcrumbs for us to follow. Oh, okay, I see. So when Bob is first talking to that policeman in the dark doorway and he casually mentions he's just waiting for a friend, that is foreshadowing the big twist at the very end? Spot on. You nailed it. The very fact that the policeman slows down, really looks him over, and asks very specific questions like, going to call time on him sharp, that all builds anticipation. It perfectly sets the stage for the final reveal. Now, let's pivot to the grammar side of things. We are focusing on sentence structure today. Let's break this down. First, we have simple sentences. These have just one single independent clause. That means one subject and one finite verb. For example, the cat meows loudly. Simple, right? Next up, we have complex sentences. Now, these consist of one independent clause plus one or more dependent clauses. For example, because it was raining heavily, hum match nihi kale pie. See how that first part depends on the second part to make sense? Finally, we have compound sentences. These combine two or more independent clauses joined together by a coordinating conjunction. Words like and, but, or so. For example, I like coffee, but my friend prefers tea. Or, mujhe pudna tha, but light chali gay. Both halves of those sentences can totally stand alone as their own sentence.
Okay, let me just make sure I've got this straight. A simple sentence is just one complete independent thought. A compound sentence is two independent thoughts glued together by a word like and or but. And a complex sentence is a mix. So it's one main thought plus a dependent thought that kind of can't stand on its own. Did I get that right?
You got it absolutely right. Recognizing the difference between independent and dependent clauses is the ultimate secret to mastering this part of the grammar syllabus. All right, moving on to Section 5, the exam corner. Let's really narrow things down to the highly specific questions you are most likely to see on your test paper. Ma'am, here is a major doubt I've seen a lot of students have in the Telegram group. How exactly did Bob realize that the tall man he was walking with was actually not his old friend Jimmy? Yes, this is an absolute classic exam question. The model answer here completely relies on the lighting. So as they were walking arm in arm, they suddenly arrived at a corner drugstore that was just brilliant with these bright electric lights. When they stepped out of the dark and into this bright glare, they both turned to look at each other's faces, and Bob instantly noticed the man's nose. The tall man had a short, kind of upturned pug nose. But Bob remembered with absolute certainty that Jimmy Wells had a Roman nose, the kind with a prominent bridge. Like Bob says in that moment, 20 years is a long time, but it's not long enough to change the shape of a man's nose.
That is such a vivid detail to remember. Okay, for the second highly likely exam question, what was the real identity of that tall man in the overcoat?
Right. If you get this question on the board exam, you need to clearly explain that he was a plainclothes police officer. Remember, when Jimmy Wells, the original policeman in uniform, saw Bob's face in the light of the match, he knew instantly that Bob was wanted in Chicago. But because of their deeply rooted old friendship, Jimmy just couldn't bring himself to arrest him. So Jimmy went back to the police station and sent this plainclothes police officer. That just means a police officer who isn't wearing a uniform. He sent him to do the job and hand Bob that final heartbreaking note.
And finally, Section 6, a quick recap.
All right, I want everyone watching to get ready for a final screenshot-friendly summary. Let's rapidly review these 5 core takeaways to really lock them into your memory before exam day. Number 1, the major theme of the story is the heavy emotional conflict between duty and friendship. Number 2, make sure you understand the character contrast. That's Bob's flashy criminal life out west versus Jimmy's steady, lawful life back in New York. Number 3, be ready to explain that famous O. Henry twist ending, which is so beautifully revealed through a simple short note. Number 4, know how the author uses foreshadowing to slowly build suspense. And number 5, for the grammar portion, practice identifying and writing your simple, complex, and compound sentences.
That's NIOS Decoded for today. Share this with a fellow NIOS student. Subscribe, join Telegram at t.me/NIOS Decoded, and remember, you've got this.